Hello, and we are back on Rooted and Radiant. I'm your host, Ashley. I'm so excited that you are here. This is the last episode of February. It's hard to believe that February has come and gone. I hope you've enjoyed this love month and this love series. And I know the last couple of weeks have been a little bit heavy, and I appreciate every single person that has reached out to me, texted me, and told me the impact that episode had on you. And so I figured the best way to do this is to end it on a light note. So today we're going to be talking all things do's and don'ts of dating, but at the end I'm going to be sharing some really funny stories that I've recently encountered, and I know how much y'all love when I talk about my dating experiences. And so we're going to get into today's episode. So whether you're dating, figuring out whether you want to date, or you're in a relationship, or you just want to be healthier altogether in your relationships, today's episode is for you. So I pray, as always, that you leave this episode feeling challenged, encouraged, and inspired. So let's do this. All right. All things do's and don'ts of dating. So we're going to start with the five of the do's of dating. And I want to be clear that dating as a Christian, it's not easy. It's hard. It comes with its different challenges. And some parts of it suck. But I do believe that you can date with purpose and intentionality. So the first thing and the most important thing, in my opinion, is to seek God first. Make sure that your relationship is rooted and founded on the foundation of God. That you're prayerful, that you have a spirit of discernment. For me personally, what I do is I always pray and I ask God and I say, God, is this you or is this a distraction? God, is this a counterfeit or is this the real thing? Because I'm not so desperate to be in a relationship that I want to miss what God is doing. And I heard a pastor say this a long time ago and recently as well, that the faster you move, the more you miss. And so we want to make sure that we're seeking God first from a place of discernment and not a place of desperation. Number 2, it is important to set clear boundaries. What are your physical boundaries? What are your spiritual boundaries? What does that look like? Communicate them effectively and early on. Because if you are clear, that avoids confusion. And if you know and you're extremely self-aware and you know, I can't handle my butt being touched. If you get too close, things start shifting in the body and it's not a good thing. You need to know that. You need to be self-aware of that. And I know as Christians, we try to pretend that it's so easy and we love God and there's no temptation. And that's a lie. There's a reason why the Bible says to avoid the very appearance of evil. Because it's very present and our fleshes are weak. So you have to be intentional in your relationship and set those clear boundaries. Everyone's convictions are different. So what that's going to look like for you and what that's going to look like for me is going to be different, but you have to decide what that looks like. Number 3, date with purpose. Be intentional about why you're dating. Are you looking for a relationship or are you looking for companionship? If you're looking for a serious relationship, it's safe to say you should probably not hang out with someone continuously who's telling you, I'm just figuring things out. I'm figuring out where I am and what I want and what I'm doing. Probably not the person that you need to be putting all your chips in on, because he's making it clear you aren't looking for the same thing. Number 4, surround yourself with wise counsel. Seek advice from mentors, pastors, and spiritually rooted and mature friends. Notice I didn't just say friends, spiritually mature friends. Because when you're spiritually mature as a friend, that means you have your best interest at heart for your friends. And you could be in a season of your life where maybe you're single, maybe you're believing God for a husband, maybe you're believing a God for your perfect person to arrive, which no perfect person exists except for Jesus. But maybe in that season. But when you're spiritually mature, you can be excited genuinely for the people in your life who are thriving, even though you feel like maybe you're not thriving in that area of your life. And that requires spiritually maturity. Because there are a lot of people out here, they your biggest haters and they're your friends. They're the ones that can't be happy for you because they don't have nobody. And those are the people that you want to avoid, because I heard a long time ago that single people tend to have the best advice, but there's a reason why they're single. And that's not all negative, because I don't think that you can't learn something from someone that is single, because I think there's a lot of wisdom that you can learn in singleness. But at the same time, if they've never been in a relationship, they never have anything positive to say, it's always somebody else, you might want to check into that. Because if the common denominator is them, maybe it's not everybody else. I'm going to leave that there. And the last one, number 5, communicate honestly and transparently. Speak openly about your expectations, your values, and your goals to ensure that you're all on the same page. If your expectation is, hey, we are dating with the intention of marriage, that means exclusivity. That means we are working on being together solely. And everybody's definition, I'm learning, of dating is different. Some people's definition of dating is, that doesn't mean that we're exclusive. That means we're in an observational period and I'm figuring out whether I like you, I see a future with you. And for other people, dating means exclusivity. Some people's definition of talking is just, hey, I'm getting to know people, but we're not boyfriend and girlfriend. So you have to make sure that you're on the same page. And also, what's your timeline? Are you wanting to get married, in a reasonable time? Or are you just, hey, I want us to be together for 7 years before we even talk about marriage? Those are things that you have to talk about early on, because sometimes I feel like we can get so accustomed to, I want to be in a relationship, that we miss a lot of those things. And it's important to communicate those things as early as possible so there's less time wasted. The 5 don'ts of dating. Do not ignore red flags. If something feels off, address it. Avoiding problems early on can lead to bigger issues later. I'll give you an example. I recently was communicating with a guy. This was a couple of weeks ago, and we went on a coffee date. And I almost didn't go because he was super underwhelming in text and just very I'm like, I don't even know if this guy is interested. Like, his texting is awful. He doesn't communicate really well. And I ended up going to the coffee date, and I'm like, look, I'm going to give this guy the benefit of the doubt. And what I found out was there was a reason behind why he was communicating the way that he was. Now, did I agree with it? No. But it felt off to me, so I addressed it. And that is the important part of dating, is when something comes up and it feels off, address it. Because chances are there's something there. Trust your intuition. Number 2, do not compromise your faith or your values. Stay true to your convictions, even when faced with pressure. A strong relationship should align with your faith and not challenge it. I'll say it again. A strong relationship should align with your faith and not challenge it. Stay strong in your convictions. And this is another thing. If they're pushing your boundaries and you've made it very clear where your line is, they're not for you. The man of God that God has for you isn't going to push your boundaries. If anything, he's going to draw you closer to God. He's going to make you more like Christ and not the other way around. So if you're in a relationship where you're constantly feeling guilty, you're feeling shame, and you feel like you're going further and further away from God, ask yourself why that is. Take some inventory of your life and ask why that is. Number 3, don't rush the process. And I'm going to be real. Church folks, Christianity, there can be a lot of toxicity in this area. And what I mean by that is, there's a lot of sayings in the Christian culture, ring before spring, and, it's better to get married than to burn. And look, I'm not saying that there's nothing to that. And I think those sayings were well-intentioned, meaning you don't need to be dating someone for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years talking about we waiting on the Lord. Use some wisdom. But I heard a pastor recently say, Mark Jones, and he said that the faster you move, the more red flags you miss. And this is something that Stephen Chandler says a lot. Shout out Union Church in DC. He says a lot about seeing someone in every season. And there's no magic formula, but he said ideally you want to see someone in every season. So spring, fall, winter, summer, because who they are in the fall may be different than who they are in the winter. And you want to give yourself time to truly evaluate who they are as a person. Number 4, don't neglect your personal growth. And man, I have done this in the past where you work so hard to get in a relationship, you do all this work on yourself, and then you get in this relationship and you wrap your entire identity around this person. And yes, you need to invest in your relationship, but you need to continue to develop in your relationship with yourself. You need to continue to personally develop and grow, because you want to always be growing and becoming the best version of yourself so you can show up in the healthiest way in your relationship. So don't neglect that, because a healthy relationship requires 2 whole individuals. So continue to focus on your spiritual and personal growth. And number 5, don't isolate yourself. Avoid withdrawing from community. Stay connected to friends, family, and church for support and accountability. And I think it's important to have a healthy level of accountability, but I also think there is some wisdom in understanding that don't mean everybody. That means having a select few people that you trust, that are going to speak life into you, that are going to hold you accountable, that are going to say, look, your location is on, and I noticed it's midnight, and you told me that y'all were being very strict in this area of your boundaries and being home by 10. What's going on? I want to hold you accountable in this area. And that's a powerful thing. And my friends have full permission to hold me accountable in that area. And I'm not in a relationship right now, but I am putting myself out there, and I'll have details down the road about that as things continue to develop. So you'll have to hang tight for that one, but it's so important, y'all. And the bonus is I'm going to talk about online dating. Yes, you heard that right. Online dating is something that I never, ever thought I'd do, because I am very type A. So if you don't know that and you haven't been following me for a while, I'm super type A. I like to be in control. I like to know all the things. And I never did online dating. And I'm in my 30s. I've never did online dating ever in my life because I thought it would become an idol. I thought I'd be obsessive about it. I've heard horror stories. And also I watch a little bit too much Catfish. So, I thought, some 70-year-old man's going to steal the profile picture of his grandson. He's going to show up and I'm going to get kidnapped and I'm going to get trafficked in a third world country. I know that is super intense, but that's literally where my brain went. And there's so much that I've learned about online dating that I didn't expect. And it showed me a couple of things. And I want to share that with y'all, because if you are out here in these dating streets, you know that they are ghetto fab, okay? They're ghetto. So these are things that I've helped weed through the trash or the muddy water, so to speak. Is the first thing is don't misrepresent yourself. I think it's important to show up as your authentic self, because what's too much for the wrong person will be just enough for the right person. Because the way you present yourself, you do realize you have to keep that up. You have to keep that up. And eventually, which is why there's wisdom in seeing someone in every season, is if you're pretending to be someone that you're not, eventually it will come out. Be honest about who you are, what you're looking for, because authenticity is key. If you aren't looking for the same things, next. Don't let online conversations replace real life connections, because some of y'all legit are like the masters at texting nonstop, but you have no intentions of actually meeting this person in real life. You just want a confidence boost. You just want to say that you're talking to someone, but you have no real intentions of being in a relationship, which to me is a complete waste of time and energy to be on a dating app, because it's literally a dating app. Literally a dating app. Don't ignore red flags in profiles or messages. Be very intentional. If something seems off, excessive flattery, vague responses, things like that, don't ignore that. Don't let online dating replace God's timing. And this one is huge, because you can get on the app and you can think, oh man, I have all these options. And yes, I do believe that the beautiful thing about the dating apps is it allows you to get exposed to a group of people that maybe you would have never connected with. Some of these people I would have never connected with, I would have never crossed paths with, because there's millions of people in this Tampa Bay area. But it also doesn't mean that you're in control, because God is. And I want you to not put God in a box. I want you not to decide how God can show up. I want you not to decide how this is exactly what it's going to happen like. Because there's a difference between preferences and following God. And I just want to give you a little tip if you're a man listening to this, because us ladies don't really have this issue because height isn't really a thing for us. But stop lying about your height, please. You do realize, like, proportionally, we can figure out that you're really not 6'3" by looking at your photos. So please stop lying about your height. And I know a lot of y'all men think that we're all shallow because there's that song that's out there, like, he's 6 foot, he's in finance, blue eyes, all that stuff. And yes, there is a percentage of women that lean heavy on that. But a lot of us care about your heart. We care about your character. We care about, am I going to be excited for my kids to be like this man? If someone said I was like him, would that be a compliment? Like, we care more about that. So please stop lying. But for real, these are the biggest things that I want you to take note of. And I legit had to write these down because I'm like, I need people to stop doing this if you're on the dating app. Okay? And then I'm going to share a few stories. Stop posting your credit score. Like, again, you're doing too much. Like, stop doing that. The car selfies, please make it stop. Like, stop posting car selfies. Please, stop. The pictures of you with bottles of alcohol in your hand, it's really not cute, and you should stop. Close-up photos in the bathroom, in your dirty mirror, and you're half naked. Please stop. Please. Posting aggressive videos telling people that if they match with you to send you a message is crazy work, like the young kids would say. Like, I had one guy that literally responded to my photo, and I wish I was making this up. Ouch. I think I just fell for the most beautiful person in the world. Be authentic. Like, don't be cheesy. Real women, we want to be approached like women. You in your laundry room. Pass. Stop doing it. Videos of you licking your lips. Disgusting. Immediate pass. Please, I said it already. Stop taking photos in your dirty mirror. At least clean the mirror. Please. Airbrush photos or with filters. Stop. If you aren't smiling or showing teeth, it's a red flag for me, because chances are very high you're either missing some teeth, you're insecure with your smile, heavy on the probably missing some teeth. Saying things like, you can hold a glass between your butt cheeks, you should probably not put that out there. You should probably keep that between you and God. Saying you're a Christian, or you're taking thirst trap photos of yourself in the bathroom in a towel is a no-go. And also, nothing is screaming I love Jesus about that. Taking videos of you in the car, literally saying nothing. Like, there are literally legit people like this. They're like, and they're saying nothing. Weird. Pass. Finding out my relationship type. You should exit stage right off the dating app. The dating app is to freaking date. If you're not interested in dating, you should not be on a dating app. Posting multiple pictures of you with your Bible does not convince me that you love Jesus. It sounds like you're trying to convince yourself. If in your About Me section it says, let's talk, red flag. Please stop posting pictures of you with other women in it. Like, it doesn't make a difference if you blacked out their face or you put the big smiley face on it. Please stop doing that. It's so weird, y'all. Posting that you need a fiance by summer 2025 so you do not lose your inheritance is screaming like green card. If you're posting photos of you as a groomsman in a wedding saying, comment on this picture if you want to meet me here, also screaming green card and skelly. Now, I know I share that I had one guy, oh my gosh, I have to tell you all this. I had one guy legit tell me that I had a cute forehead. And I had another guy message me and was like, oh, I'm like, he had on his profile that he was trying to figure out his dating goals. And I'm like, what are you trying to figure out about your dating goals? He was like, yeah. I'm like, that didn't really answer my question. So number one, you can't read. But I'm like, what are you figuring about your dating goals? Like, are you figuring out whether you want to date? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, interesting. He's like, is that a problem? I'm like, clearly I'm new to this. I was only like 7 days in. And I'm like, pretty sure the point of being on a dating app is to date. So if you're not on here to date, what are you doing? It's just very special. And I want to go back to the story that I told earlier about the guy that I ended up going to coffee with that was very sporadic in his dating and his conversations and things like that. And one of the things that he said, and this is what I want to end with, one of the things that he said is he holds back a lot on investing the time and energy and effort into what he shows of himself when he's texting with people, when he's exchanging phone numbers and things like that, because he did that a lot and then invested time and energy and things didn't work out, or the person didn't end up wanting to meet him. And so now he reserves his personality in person and said basically, like, you just have to give him a chance to meet him in person. And here's what I'll say to this. Dating requires a vulnerability. Dating requires putting time, effort, and energy into letting someone get to know you and understanding completely that there is a possibility that it won't work out. And you have to be okay with that. If you are presenting yourself as a shell of yourself because you're afraid of it not working out, I'm going to give you a tip. You need some more time to heal. Because there are things, I think there are ways to avoid coming out unscathed by having boundaries, protecting yourself, not giving your body away. But you're going to have to invest time, effort, and energy into showing people who you are. Because if you don't show people who you are, yes, you'll be misjudged. Because they can only judge by what you've shown them. So open your heart. Be vulnerable. Give yourself a chance. And the other thing I'll say is focus on their heart. Focus on who they are. Do they make you feel soft? One thing I'm learning about myself as I've been dating and going on dates is I genuinely want to be with a man that allows me to be soft, because I, and most women I can speak for, we actually want to lean in our feminine energy. We want to be with a man that makes us feel soft and beautiful, where we don't have to step in and be masculine because you don't want to take the lead or you don't want to lead in that area. So if you're out here dating, maybe you're like, ugh, it's been rough. Check your heart posture. Remember at the end of the day that God is still in control. There's nothing that God cannot do. There's no door that God cannot open when it's for you. And this is something that I shared earlier on another platform that I'm a part of, is that I'm learning in this season that you attract what you are. You don't attract what you think you deserve. You don't attract what you think you desire. Doing the inner work is so important because it will determine the headspace that you're in to receive the man that God has for you. If you're out here living a full life, if you're doing all of the things, if you're learning all the new skills, learning to play pickleball, learning to play golf, having fun brunches with your girlfriends, taking solo trips, you're going to be filled. You're going to be whole. And you're going to be able to recognize that whole person standing next to you, because two whole people make a whole, not two halves. Love yourself first, because that will directly determine how you receive love from another person. Because if you can't do it for yourself, you're not going to be able to receive it from somebody else. So invest in you. You're worth it. Your forever love is out there, but I can promise you this, it won't be perfect. So embrace the beautiful journey that it is, because singleness is a season that will end. And I want you to come out of that season being like, wow, I lived it so well that I'm mourning it. So I love y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Until next week.